his fielder. He's gone to the dogs.
Hey, folks, out there in podcast land, welcome one more time to the Gone to the Dogs podcast. This old gravelly voice you hear is Steve Fielder, your host, and I'll be with you for the next hour to an hour and a half, talking dogs, coon hounds this time. Got my good friend, my Florida buddy, my swamp buster down here on as our guest today, and I'll be introducing him in just a minute. I want to give just a minute to pay the bills and thank the good folks out at DU Hunting Supply, Buddy Woodbury, Jason Doobie, my producer Shannon, everybody out there that does such a great job in producing these podcasts, but more than that, they do a great job in providing hunting supplies for virtually any need you have. If you're a hound person, you can get it at DU Supply. They got some great apparel. I see where they just got a brand new line of hats, and I think they've got a deal out there. If you buy so much in product, you get a really good deal on these sharp new hats. So anyway, just a shout out to DU Hunting Supply, our sponsor, a great place to buy anything involving your hounds or coon or bear or cat or whatever you choose to hunt with them. So thank you, guys. All right, it's time for me to announce our guest, and he's a guy that I've known for quite a long time. I didn't know him before I came to Florida, but I saw his name in the magazines. I knew he was a Plott guy, so that automatically made him my brother from another mother. The Plott fraternity is pretty strong, and just real happy to have you with me today, Gordie Schroeder. How you doing, Gordie?
I'm doing good, Steve.
Well, I tell you what, you and I both are afflicted with this disease called coon hunting, and we're having to do it in a pretty rough place. Have you ever seen any rougher coon hunting than we have down here?
No, not in particularly. It's pretty tough down here. You know, from the Ocala National Forest and to the swamps we hunt. It's rough.
Well, you took me to a really nice place one time up there. I remember it's known all over Florida for its kind of golf course like conditions. It's called the Ocala Scrub. You want to talk to?
That makes me laugh. Oh yeah, that's you know, there are a few open areas in there where the hunting's pretty good. You get down around some of the smaller ponds or lakes, but
yeah.
Man, overall, it is just thick. I mean, it's a scrub. It is just thick, and there's a few oaks, a lot of pines, sand pines, and tree a lot of coons on them pines. You know, when you can tree a coon.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get down to the nitty gritty with that and kind of break down Florida hunting compared to Midwestern hunting. You're from Northwest Ohio. I lived for 22 years in southern Michigan, so we have a lot of parallels there probably to that kind of hunting. And then the stuff that we've done here, as is the custom on these podcasts, kind of an introductory thing here to get the guests and the listeners on the same page. Tell me a little bit about who you are, Gordie, how old you are, where you were born, how you know, about your family, just some of that stuff.
Okay. Yeah, well, I'm going to be 57 here in June. Came from Northwest Ohio, a little Midwest farm community up in Putnam County. I was raised on a small farm up there. Have 5 brothers, 4 sisters, and big family. So as far as the hunting goes, I got into the coon hunting, I'm going to guess around the 6th, 7th grade. One of my older brothers had taken me with some of his buddies, and I don't want to say I was hooked at that point, but it definitely had my interest.
Were you hunting anything else at the time?
No, I was not. Them guys at the time, I'm trying to remember back, that's quite some time ago. They had Walker dogs, and I think a couple blue dogs in the mix that night.
Okay, now give me the town that you were from there, Gordie.
I grew up in a little German community called Glandorf. It was named after Glandorf, Germany.
I see. So that I didn't realize, but with your name is obviously German, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
And I know you like beer.
Yep, that's a fact.
And Germans are known for liking beer, right?
Yeah, for sure.
That's right. Well, I tell you what, that's some good hunting up there. What county is that?
That was Putnam County.
Putnam, yeah. Okay. All right. Now, my experience up that way, and this is about you, not about me, but just kind of as a point of reference, we had a couple of world hunts up there in Northwest Ohio while I was with UKC. We had one at Van Wert that I believe Duke Prue from out in Connecticut ended up winning that with that tricolor tom-tom dog. And then we had one in Lima, Ohio, and that's when Tony Daviduck won it with the Joey female. And how far are you from those areas?
Well, actually, I'm about, 20 minutes, probably 20 minutes to a half hour north of Lima and 20 minutes to a half hour east of Van Wert.
Yeah. Well, we had some great world hunts up there, treated a lot of coon. That hunting up there is primarily, though, the land is laid out in, is it mile sections or 2 mile sections? Or
most of them are mile squares. Yeah.
With a patch of woods in that square.
With a patch or two, not too many, not a whole lot. And usually the patches range from anywhere from 10 to 100 acres. It's probably about max. There may be a few sections bigger than that, but not a whole lot.
Mostly grow corn and beans up there.
Corn, beans, wheat.
Yeah. Well, there's always, that's such great hunting, but I worry about these long-ranging dogs that we have nowadays for some of them, about them getting out of the section. How big a problem is that up there?
That is a big problem. It really is. I was up there. Let's see. It's probably been a couple of years ago, and I was hunting with my buddy Mark Warnicke up there. He's a fellow Plott guy too, and we were hunting. I had Banana up there, and he was hunting to my younger Plott, and he had another nice female that he was hunting. And matter of fact, they both got hit on the road that night. We were hunting.
Man.
Yeah, that was a rough one.
Well, it is, and I hunted in similar territory in Michigan, but it didn't seem that the coon were too bad about crossing out of the sections and going, into another section. Maybe we just had a denser population. I don't know, but in the years that I lived in Michigan, which I think was about 22 years, I only had one dog killed on the road. Well, actually, I was along on hunts when 2 others were killed. But that's always a heartbreaker.
That's definitely the truth there. And a lot of times these sections up there, they'll have a fence line running out of them. So if there's nothing right there, little patch of woods they're hunting, they're going to follow that fence line out, and it goes right to a road.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
I wish that we could have a national campaign that you could see on TV every week or every day. That when you're out driving at night and you see lights around the highway or anything, please slow down. So many drivers, and you've been there, Gordie, I'm sure, they'll, as they go by a parked vehicle or something, they'll actually speed up.
Sure.
It's like, I don't know if they're afraid of they're going to be stopped or what, but it's a tendency of these drivers in a lot of cases to speed up when they.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we don't talk about that much, or I haven't on the podcast, but that's one of the dangers of hunting dogs for sure. And sometimes it's our own fault. My good friend John Kripe, who was a Plott guy and who I hunted with when I first moved to Michigan. He later moved to Idaho. But he and I went coon hunting one night in the wintertime up there, and we shouldn't have been coon hunting. It was much too cold. The temperature was down around 0. The snow, the roads were plowed and the snowbanks were high on either side, and they were frozen snow, And really, the dogs, when they broke out of the woods, they had virtually nowhere to go but down the road, Anyway, we left 2 dogs out that night. That was before the days of tracking collars. And about dawn, I'd planned to get back up and go out, and he lived closer, so he said he'd go out earlier than I planned, and got a phone call. Lady on the phone said, "I have your dog." And I said, "Well, that's great." And I said, "There were 3 dogs together. Do you just have one?" And she said, "Yes. Unfortunately, the other 2 have been hit by cars on the road." Well, I had 2. I had a dark brindle female, a young dog, and I had Bronco, who was a medium brindle colored dog, and he was my boy. And it took me a minute to get up the nerve to ask her, which dog do you have? Is he brown colored, or is it a male that's brown, or is it a female that looks like a lab that's blacker? And she said, "Well, the one I have is the male that's the brown dog." And so I knew that Bronco was okay, but those other 2 dogs had been killed, and one was John Cripe's pride and joy, a dog called Grapevine Hank, about 6 years old, a Von Plott bred dog that he really liked. And, of course, the female was Fly, a young one that was out of Bronco, and my Blackie female that I had. You always hate to lose one,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And we had a guy lose a female on a cast. All the casts that I judged and guided up those years up there only had one time that a dog got hit. And I don't know where this gal decided. She just blew behind us and went out of the section and got hit, So anyway, that's a rabbit path we got down, and I guess I really didn't mean to, but man, it's good advice to anybody out there to be careful where you turn these dogs loose.
Yeah, definitely put blinking collars on. It don't help all the time, but it definitely helps. I mean, when me and Mark were hunting up there, he had flashing collars on both his dogs, and it didn't make any difference.
I think the Garmin, where you can turn the light on and off from your handheld, is a definite plus for things like that. But if the drivers don't want to slow down, and use caution when they see something like that, I can't imagine what a driver would be thinking that want to hit a light that was out there. That would tell me right away that's either a person or an animal, but I guess we don't think like everybody else.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So your first experience coon hunting, did you tree coon?
Actually, no, we didn't tree it. All I can really remember, I can't remember how old I was. Too much. I was pretty young, but anyway, I can remember crossing the trying to think, All Glaze River on a log, and I remember going to the dog, the river bottom, and but I mean, it really intrigued me, and it just kind of from that point on is actually it wasn't too long after that we ended up getting a dog. So
was that you and your brothers or a cousin?
Actually, my dad.
Oh, I see. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a blue tick we called Squirt, a little female, and not a bad little dog. So
well, she was a great dog if she could get you and your dad out together doing something together, right? Well, your dad was never much of a coon hunter, was he?
No, Dad was always too busy. He I mean, we had 10 kids, and he worked, and he was too busy to really do anything else.
Well, you Germans took the Bible at at face value when it said be fruitful and multiply. Because our friend Jerry Mall, that just retired from PKC, he and his wife, Brenda, are each from families of 13 children. And in fact, they are each the baby of the family. I thought that's an amazing story. But, yeah, that's great. That's great.
One of my other friends up there, he come from a family of 16 kids.
Well, that's great. Those big families, man. What a joy that is. My brother, Randy, my brother, and we've been up to Randy's and stayed over and all, but he and I are the only ones. And then he has 2 daughters and I have 1 son. So,
Yeah, the amazing thing of it all is at least as far as my family's concerned, is we all get along.
That's great. That is terrific, yeah. And I think Jerry would say the same thing about his large family. And I come from those kind of roots, not German, but my mother and dad both were from families of 9. So, that's great. That's great. Well, how did you progress along? When did you get your own dog? Well, you said your dad and you got this blue tick female, right?
Right.
Uh-huh. Did you? Go ahead.
Actually, one of my dad's friends had a walker at the time, had a walker male, nice walker male. So they made a cross. They crossed that blue dog with that walker dog. That's back,
before the X-bred.
X-breed dog. But we had sold all them puppies, and we ended up getting one back from a guy, and we named him Spike. And I'll tell you that dog is what set me on fire as far as coon hunting went, because he was a coon treeing machine. And I'm serious. He was something else.
Well, back in that day, where hide prices were in pretty good shape, weren't they?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, you bring a $40 coon, real simple. It was something else back then. It's back in my grade school days. I made some money trapping and coon hunting, that type of thing. So it was all good.
Oh yeah. We talked about that on this podcast, about how when there was a value to that fur, it just kind of really, a lot more people were involved, for one thing, but it just kind of put a value stamp on the sport. Guys would. It was kind of funny, though. There were a certain number of pleasure hunters, or hide hunters, we call them, that would buy a dog before the season, hunt it through the season, and then sell it when the season was over, and be looking for another one the following fall,
Right.
But for me, it was... Pardon, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. I remember when probably younger than that, my one uncle had a Plott, and I remember I was over there, and I seen that dog in the barn, and I thought, boy, what a beautiful dog, and that just kind of stuck with me, through the years. Never had the opportunity of getting one back then, because in our area there really wasn't a whole lot. I mean, there's a few guys that bear hunt and stuff, but you didn't hear of anybody coon hunting them. And then in the mid-late 80s, John and Kurt got Sarge. John Otto, Kurt Cyber got Sarge, and that kind of set me on a path after that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, let's talk about him just a minute, to just fill in our listeners about who you're talking about there. There was a famous litter of stud dogs that came out of a dog called Kansas Joe Boy, that was owned by Jim Cannon out in Kansas, and Spud Reynolds, also from Kansas. I think Spud co-owned Joe Boy. I may be wrong on that. I know Jim did for sure. And Charlie Shortridge of Indiana had a female named Queen, and she was quite a competitor, as was Joe Boy. I think Jim told me one time that Joe Boy was made it to the finals. I won't say he was in the Final Four, but he made it to the finals of the World Hunt, I think, 5 times. But they made that cross between Joe Boy and Queen, and that's what produced this Cyberton Autos Sarge.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Roy Howell's Saber dog was from that cross, a Grand Night champion dog. And then perhaps the most famous dog of recent times in the Plott breed was Kansas Sizzling Heat, who won the 1988 UKC World Championship. So when you're talking hunting with Sarge, I got to hunt with old Sarge at Plott Days one year, and he was quite a well-known dog. So I didn't mean to interrupt you, Gordie, but I just kind of wanted to set the background on that so folks will know when you talk about Kurt and John and the Sarge dog, they were a big smoke back in that day.
Oh, yeah, sure. For sure. Well, I bought a puppy. I can't remember what year it was. It was in the I'm going to say 86, 87, 88, that range. John and Kurt had a litter of puppies. They weren't out of Sarge. I honestly can't remember, but I do know they were great. Like the grandsire was Joe Boy and the grandmother was Queen.
Yeah.
And that puppy I bought was a coon dog. Now, I was, I guess, caught in my young and dumb stage and really didn't realize what I had at the time. But that dog was a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah. Well, when you and I met, like I say, I'd seen your name in the Plott columns and things like that. And when I moved down here to Florida, who contacted who? I can't remember how we got together down there. Do you?
I actually contacted you through Bill Slaughter.
Yeah, our mutual friend Bill, and of course Pam, his wife, and Pam was the secretary for many years of the Plott Association. And Bill and Pam provided the fellowship dinner on Wednesday night leading up to Plott Days for many years. And Bill is still, for those of you out there that are interested, Bill and Pam are still kicking. Pam's had a few health issues here back over the last few months. She ended up having some heart problems. And she's, I think, getting along fine now. Bill as well. But they're not hunting much anymore. I think Bill still has a couple of dogs. But yeah, Bill and I go back all the way to the days when I first came down here to Florida and was going to college in Lakeland and in the 60s. And Bill and I knew a guy named John Miller. And John was quite the coon hunter, and he preferred Plotts, and so naturally I looked him up. But anyway, Bill is a longtime friend of us both. So Bill told you I was down here, huh?
Yep. Yeah. And that's a matter of fact, that's the time I was hunting that Plott Emma.
Yes.
Emma dog I had.
Yeah. Emma was a nice dog. In fact, I think there's still a video of Emma and Ole Hoss treeing. It's on the Plott Dogs Online Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
And we tried to get a litter of pups out of Hoss and Emma a couple times, didn't we?
Yes, we did. It just didn't work. It wasn't Hoss's fault.
Well, I don't know if that's true or not. I actually only bred him 3 times, and that was twice to Emma and once to the Guma female of Amanda Alexander's. But unfortunately, Emma passed. She got a uterine infection, didn't she?
Uterine infection.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good. So
nice tree dog. She wasn't she Bayou bred or?
No, actually she was up. I got to think here. Kyle Emery's rock dog and Bill Harrell's. Just drew a blank on it.
Well, I know the female you're thinking about, but I can't think of her name.
Harold's Penny.
Penny, yes.
Yep. Yeah.
That rock dog was a redwood bred dog, I believe.
Right.
Yeah, from our friends.
She nice little dog. Boy, she was a gritty thing.
Yeah, nice tree dog too. I remember that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely,
for sure. Well, so we started hunting some, and I know that it's a good time for us to just kind of talk about what hunting's like down here. I've kind of touched on that before in podcasts. I can't remember which ones, but okay, let me lead this off and you jump in and add, because you've got a broader, I think, broader scope on some of this hunting than I do, especially this stuff up in around the Ocala National Forest and in that area. I started coon hunting in Florida, hunting on ranches. As I mentioned, John Miller was a guy that I went over around Tampa. I was in school in Lakeland. I went to the Tampa area and went hunting with John, and he hunted on some ranches north of town, like up Highway 301 or Interstate 75, which when I started hunting, I don't think 75 was even there. But at any rate, big cattle ranch. Pardon?
I said, you are old.
Older than dirt. I was there when Noah let the first 2 Plott dogs off the ark. Did you know that? And they were both brindle. There wasn't a buckskin in the bunch. I'm just kidding. I have to dig my guys that like the buckskin dogs. Anyway, no, I hunted on those ranches, and back then we just basically would pull in the vehicle up to a bay head. How would you describe a bay head, Gordie?
Well, to me, it's just a bunch of cypress trees and a pond of water out in the middle of nowhere.
You know, when I actually looked up a bay head, they talk about them being on higher ground. Well, sometime over time, maybe they were higher than the deep swamps around or something. I don't know, but to me, here's what a bay head reminds me of. It reminds me of hunting in the Midwest, where you have those patches of woods that we talked about, out in the middle of, surrounded by corn or bean fields or whatever. Uh-huh. But instead of being nice flat woods with big oak timber and hardwoods and fairly open and all, these things, as you said, you're going to get wet when you go in one. Usually, unless, you pull your waders up pretty high. You're going to walk in there, I am, with a walking stick, because there's usually some things out there that want to eat me and my pup.
Oh, yeah. I remember a night me and you took a walk. Do you remember that?
Well, the one, that deep water?
That deep water, actually Cruz was treed in there about 100, I'd say between 100 and 130 yards.
Yeah.
And it's when he was pretty young.
Yeah.
And I was trying to talk you out of going in there and getting him.
Oh, yeah. I remember that. Actually, he was farther in than that. He got way back in there. In fact, I walked a pretty good ways back there, and it was, I was thinking, I'm going to go get my dog. Here I go, hidey ho. And
it was an hour in and an hour out. I know that.
Yeah. And I never did get totally to him. But, and that one time we drove around, remember? I think we had a video on that when he was treed. Maybe that was the time you're thinking about. But I know one time back there when people started either shooting a firearm or fireworks at us. I don't know.
Yeah, that was a different area. Yeah, I remember
that was okay. Yeah, I remember the time you're talking about.
Yeah.
But it's an adventure down here, isn't it?
Never a dull moment. Never a dull moment.
Well, you hunt like I did in Michigan. I used to hunt by myself all the time, but you hunt by yourself quite a bit, don't you?
Yeah, I actually enjoyed it. I kind of always did. I just, especially when I'm starting a young dog, and if I'm kind of gearing one towards competition, because I don't hear as good as I used to, and I can tune my ears in, so to speak. And it's just something that I do, and enjoy.
Yeah. Well, I think I used to kind of do a little bit of self-analysis, and say, Steve, there's a lot of people you could call tonight and go hunting with, and that'd be the sociable thing to do. Now, that's when I lived in Michigan. I'm not talking about down here, although I do know several people that I could go with. But up there, and I used to, and then I would, like you, I'd say, well, I've got this young dog, and I need to single him out and and see how he's operating. When I first went up there and there were those $20 and $30 coon, I got a little selfish. I said, I don't want to share these hides.
Sure.
I want to go skin them and sell them.
Yeah.
I never was a hide hunter, but I enjoyed that aspect of hunting a lot. Of taking the fur, skinning it out, bringing it home, put it in the freezer. Later on, take it to the fur dealer.
Mm-hmm.
But
sure.
Well, can you think of any particularly crazy hunts that you had out there in these Florida swamps since you've been down here?
Trying to think here. Well, you remember our buddy Bob Frazier.
Oh, yeah.
And, Bob's still done pretty well. I talked to him at least once a week, every other week, something like that. But I think he might have been along that night when, trying to think if it was Hoss and can't remember Bob's
Candy.
dog's name.
Candy.
And we had Nana, and they treed that in the swamp there. And we went in there, and everybody, and I still don't know how this happened, but everybody was kind of standing back, and I was getting ready to shoot that coon out, and I said, everybody clear? And everybody said, yeah, and I shot, come rolling out of there and landed right on old Bob's head.
How did that happen? I couldn't believe that because he was standing way out from the tree. We put him out there,
Yeah,
it's almost like you placed the ball on the pool table.
Yeah.
What? Yeah, that was a crazy deal, and I think he's lucky it didn't break his neck.
Man,
I think it did make him pretty sore. Bob, go ahead.
No, I mean, I honestly don't know if when I said if everybody was ready, if he was walking back towards the tree, or when I shot, if that coon might have jumped. I mean, I honestly don't know. I don't.
Well, you couldn't have planned it, that way.
Sure.
There's no way.
Sure.
Well, Bob is in his 80s now, isn't he?
Yeah, he's actually turned 87 in December.
I'll be. He's a great guy to hunt with. I used to go by and pick him up, but it's difficult as you get older to drive at night.
Sure.
And so I'd go up or down to his place. He wintered here in Florida and originally from Ohio. Was that close to the area where you grew up, Gordie, where he lives?
He lived about, let me think, an hour and a half south of me.
Okay. Yeah.
About the same as here, actually. When I'd go pick him up, it would take a good hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes to go get him. Yeah.
Well, our Plott listeners will remember Bob Frazier. He's always had a good dog. He made a point to have a good dog, I think, down through the years. And it didn't have to be a Plott, but he preferred Plotts. And it was great to go. I'd go and pick him up, and then we'd drive up and meet you up at a farm there that originally Bob had that lined out. And but I think you've kind of inherited it since Bob is no longer coming back down this way. But it's a great, it's private land where most of our hunting down here is on public land if you can find it. Right.
Yeah, it's actually kind of rare to have public land or private land to hunt. It really is. It's just kind of been a blessing to me, because if I didn't have it, I'd probably be doing something else.
Sure.
Fishing, I guess.
Well, I would admit, if I were younger and I was out and able to hunt like you are, I would get out and try to find those kind of places myself. I have evolved in my hunting experience to the point that I just enjoy going with other people. Sure. And, I love to have a dog along, and most of the time I do. Right now I don't have a dog here, but I've got my hands on 3 right now, long distance. But, it's well, I wanted to talk to you about, you've been pretty successful in the Plott breed. I know we're the smallest breed well, I guess the leopard hounds would be smaller in numbers than the Plotts since they're the newest in the registry. But before the leopards, the Plotts were the fewest in number among the 6 original breeds. And but we've always had kind of a tight community within the Plott breed. I wanted, in this conversation, I kind of like to open some things up and talk about a few things, and just I want to pick your brain a little bit, Gordie, about some of the things that you like and what you see, where the Plott breed's going, maybe some things that you don't like, and talk about the associations and just different things, and we'll kind of. We're Plott guys, and we've got the microphone, so we can talk about Plotts here for the next few minutes if you want to. But
sure.
When did you get your first Plott?
My first Plott would have been around 1987.
Okay. All right. I was firmly entrenched in the field office at UKC at that time.
Okay.
So, of course, I had Plotts myself. I think it was in 1986 that I was fortunate to win the all Plott hunt at Laingsburg, Michigan at Plott Days with the dog called Bronco. But tell me about that first Plott.
I called him Trader's Black Mac. He was, I can't remember, the sire was out of Michigan. I actually bought him off Kurt and John. And I can't remember. They had a female there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went over, I bought that pup. And Mark Warnicke, my hunting buddy, he had bought another pup. And I called mine Mac. And but anyway, that dog was one of the gamiest dogs I ever experienced to this day. He was something else. He was one of them. He'd run, I guess you call him an all-purpose dog.
Okay. Yeah.
Combination
anyway, dog they used to call him.
Combination dog. Yeah, I would say he was trashy. There's no doubt about it. But he was one heck of a coon dog too. And I had an issue with that dog. Only like when the deer were rutting. I don't know if it was the buck, but if the bucks would come in and challenge, sometimes challenge a dog or something.
Mm-hmm.
But when them deer would rut, that dog would go crazy, and I could not break him on deer. And matter of fact, that dog caught 2 deer, whether you want to believe it or not.
Oh yeah.
And took him to the ground. But I just couldn't break him. But he was a good dog. He was fun. For a young guy that starting out, and it just that was kind of before competition, things like that.
Did you have a what we commonly call a shock collar when you were trying to break
it?
Yeah, and that didn't.
Oh no.
Yeah. No, riding the lightning wasn't the cure then.
No, he'd go end over end and get right back up and take off, and he'd get to the edge of the woods and jump on a tree. He
hard to beat in competition.
Oh yeah, he was tough. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Okay, so that's 97. Did you keep him long, or did you breed him?
I never bred him. I had him. See, that was in 87.
Mm-hmm.
I won. Let me think. 87, 89. I ended up getting the second and 7th place, I think it was, at the Ohio State Championship in 89 with him. Yeah, 89.
That's strong. Yeah.
Yeah, that was good. But after that, I ended up selling him to a couple younger guys that were looking to get into competition, and it just never materialized with them guys.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it never does. I've been talking with a younger fella, and his desire, he really, really wants to get in a competition, and he really wants to win, and he really wants to, take it to the top. And I'm trying to counsel him, trying to tell him things. I'm going to take a little break right here from what we're talking about and interject something here. There are several podcasts out there now about tree dogs and about coon hunting and so forth. Chris Powell and I started the Houndsman XP podcast, and then he brought on Josh Michaelis, who's very knowledgeable competition hunter, and they have some really good. Josh especially has some really good podcasts out there. And then a young fellow named Tyler Duncan down in Lower Mississippi. He works on the oil rigs and somehow finds time to produce the Coon Hunting University podcast. And he just had on as a guest this week that we're recording this, Kevin Cable. People will know Kevin Cable is owning the Big Money Dog, the Little Money Dog, the Money in the Bank dog that won the PKC World Hunt. And, Kevin gave an amazing interview to Tyler Duncan and to Eddie Simmons. Eddie's a longtime friend, worked with the PKC organization for quite a while. But anyway, the questions were good. The answers from Kevin were straightforward. And I would advise any young person that's thinking about competition hunting, or new person, let's put it that way, and wants to get into the game and wants to hear a real, honest, straightforward commentary on coon hunting in competition, to go and listen to the episode with Kevin Cable on Coon Hunting University. Now, there's a plug. I'm going to have to get in touch with Tyler Duncan and see what he's willing to give me for that. Or will he give me a like plug somewhere down the road? But no, seriously, it was very, very good, and it should be helpful to anybody that's contemplating getting in to competition hunting. But and just to know that what we discussed this the other day with Sid Underwood about the fact that on a given night any dog can win in competition.
Absolutely.
Okay, I've kind of got ahead of myself here.
You're fine.
Go ahead.
If you're talking about competition and for a young person,
yeah,
or anybody that's getting into it, the best advice I can give is, it's one of the reasons I hunt by myself, is get to know that dog, and the dog will actually tell you what it's doing. You just got to learn it and listen, and the dog will tell you.
That's right. We can't preach it enough. Put the Garmin in your pocket.
Yep.
Use it,
yep.
To see if the dog's getting in trouble somewhere. Then put it up and listen to the dog. You don't need to see every little circle that he makes on that screen. Listen
Absolutely.
to him. Let his voice telegraph back to you what he's doing, because that's going to be the difference. It is the difference between a good dog man.
I kind of think, I'm not bragging on myself, but I kind of think was some of my success with Banana, was that, I'm in these hunts, and I'm listening, and I'm not staring at my Garmin, and I'm listening and using my God-given whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, there's two receptors on either side of your head.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
And then the experience of being out with the dog during the week. Jerry Maul, I always quote Jerry Maul. Jerry and I worked together at AKC. He was active at PKC when I was there, and I can't say enough good about Jerry. I really have the highest respect for him. But, he used to say it's not the will to win, it's the will to prepare to win. And, of course, I think he was borrowing that quote maybe from Vince Lombardi or someone, but still, it's very true. Yeah. Well, okay. Well, since you opened the door to talk about this hound of yours that you call Banana, Bayou Banana, I always like that name. But I know that before we get into the Banana story, and that's a very important part of this podcast, tell me about any dogs that you had leading up then to before you got her.
Well, before I got Banana, I had Emma down here. just prior to moving down here, I've been down here, about 11 years now. Prior to moving down here, I had a couple pretty decent plots, and I ended up selling them before I moved down here, just because I didn't have a place to hunt and I didn't know of anything. So I sold them before I moved. So then I ended up buying a puppy up in Georgia. Angus, you remember Angus?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And he never, he would tree a coon, but he just didn't have I don't want to say he didn't have the go, but he'd tree a coon and he'd go, well, that's enough for me. I'll go stand on the tailgate, and just kind of
yeah.
goon.
Yeah. Beautiful hound.
Yeah, he was beautiful.
Yeah, big strong boy. Yeah.
Yeah. So then I think after him, well, I had Emma. Actually, I did have him and Emma at the same time. And then, after Emma had to have her put down, I think it was about within a week, I got on that UKC board and I seen this advertisement. I think he actually said Banana isn't or has not been hunted or getting hunted and she's for sale. So I contacted the guy and we got talking a little bit. I said, boy, I don't know if she's worth taking a chance on or not. So actually, Bob Frazier knew a guy out there that might have hunted with her or been with her. And so I contacted that guy and I said, is she worth taking a chance on? He said, yes, absolutely. So I ended up getting her, had her shipped here. And that's a story in itself, too.
Well, let's hear it.
Well, I never told my wife that dog was coming. And
how many coon hunters out there, raise your hand, got a dog without telling your wife it was coming? Oh, man, hands everywhere. I see those hands. Go ahead.
The hauler showed up. I think it was about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. She says, who's out there? Oh, I said, I didn't tell you. I'm getting a dog delivered.
By the way.
I thought the roof was going to come off the house. But anyway, it's all good now. And
hey, I think Joy's as proud of Banana as you are.
Oh, yeah, I know she is. Actually, she's proud of all these dogs. I bring a dog home and it's like, I get a little bit of grief, but overall it's
right.
pretty darn good. Yeah.
So anyway, and I remember all this because you were telling me, as you, when you were, I guess, thinking about getting her and all that. So yeah, it's a good story. Let's hear it all.
So I ended up getting her shipped down here, and actually me and Bob Frazier. We started hunting her and stuff, and in the beginning, I really didn't like her. I didn't like her. I just didn't like her hunt style and stuff. And then I called the guy back in Illinois. I said, you know what? I said, I might ship her back. I said, she's just not panning out the way I like. And so me and him talked. He said, we kind of cut a deal. He said, just keep her. So I did. And it just seemed like after that, Steve, she just started to click.
All right. She just needed a little time. She was
a little more time,
probably.
Could be.
Seriously, I mean, we kid about these things, and for the life of me, I see some of these high dollar dogs that just get passed around here and there. But then when you talk about talk with somebody like Jason Daugherty and he will say to you, these dogs, you got to spend some time with them. They got to get used to you and all that. And I think a lot of people miss the point of doing that.
Yeah, and I think these Plotts. I mean, and even in any other breed, some of them start early, and some of them they mature at a little slower pace, and they progress gradually. And
right.
To me, that's better. But
yeah, it is. If you got the patience and all, let them progress at their own speed and let it all be natural instead of forced,
With modern technology and, with Facebook and stuff like that, it's hard for guys to understand, when they're seeing a litter mate puppy out there, doing its own thing at 6, 7, 8 months old. It's hard for them to have patience. And I understand that, but, you just got to wait it out, and most times it'll come out in your favor.
Right. Well, at what point, or do you remember a story or anything about when she started looking better to you, and you thought maybe. Well, I don't think you had. I'm not going to spoil the story and end of it because I want you to tell the listeners everything about Banana.
Well,
But at first, when
yeah.
she was a young dog, just tell me about how she developed.
Well, when I first got her, I really didn't like the way she was hunting out, by herself. Just, I mean, she'd go and meander, just one of them things. And so over time, I was kind of getting on her, about getting on her a little more about things. And it was setting her backwards.
Don't worry about that pup back there. That's one of
Oh,
those
yeah.
banana pups. I know.
That's actually Banana's granddaughter out of
Oh,
bed. But
I got
yeah,
you. Okay.
yeah. But so I was starting to get a little hard on her, and actually it was setting her back. So I
Mm-hmm.
was I don't know, I was laying in bed one night thinking about it, and I said, well, what can I do different, and then I don't know, like a bell went off in my head. It just said start praising her, whatever she does, just she never really made any, when she treated, she'd have a coon, but it was just kind of the hunting issue, and so from that point on, like even when I put her in the box, I praise her getting her up in there, praise her getting her out, and it's just like it started sinking into her what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And and after a period of time, she just started doing what she needed to do. She figured it out. What made me happy, Sounds kind of weird, but that's actually a true story.
Well, we talk about that over the last couple of years, or I have, or been part of conversations where we talk about that these dogs really do want to please us. If they like us, they bond with us. They do. That's what they. Uh, well, I've always thought the Plott dog, hunts to catch. He wants the game.
Sure.
That's job one. But they also do bond with us. They're a little different than other breeds. Sometimes they can be kind of more of a one man or one woman dog.
Absolutely.
I've seen some Plott females and had some that could be a little pouty and moody at
Mhm.
times. Uh, and all, but they do have personality. Plott dogs, they're a lot alike, but they're also individuals. If you
They're
spend any
individuals.
time with them, and
And they're very intelligent, and it's just,
correct.
yeah, they're a breed apart.
Well, they are. They are. I think that's another uh, breed's slogan. I think, but I think it definitely applies. Excuse me, to the Plott dog. And I've told people many times that Ole Hoss dog I had was the smartest dog I ever fooled with, and I've fooled with a
Hmm.
few. And and they do. They have exceptional intelligence. Okay, so you started. Tell me how you hunted Nana, we call her, and how she began developing, and when you started putting her in the hunts and all. How'd that go?
Well, actually, about I'd say a month, 2 months after that time frame, me and Bob were hunting about 3 nights a week together, but she just started clicking, consistently treeing coon, and I'm not talking just like off feeder buckets or anything like that. I mean, she was getting in through them swamps, in some deep water and getting treed and having, them coons on them big cypress trees.
Yep.
So I don't know. I took her to a hunt. I'm trying to remember the first time I put her in. I think it was up in Providence, Florida. Um, that was on a Friday night. Ended up getting beat. It wasn't anything she did wrong, or I did wrong. She just got beat. But I thought, to myself, this dog can compete. So I think a week or two later was the Georgia State hunt, and I think that was probably the first, I guess you'd call it, major hunt that I had her in, and she ended up winning. Winning the registered, and I got in the final four that night, and ended up third overall that night. So yeah, that worked out. That was kind of the beginning of her career
So
as far as
basically, her second night hunt, she ends up in the Final Four at the Georgia State, and
Right.
ends up
Right.
third overall. That's a pretty good
Yeah.
start.
Oh yeah. 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 For sure. And then we went. I'm trying to think if it was Plott. Yeah, well, no, there was one other. No, it was Plott Days in 2016, and I ended up getting the Isaiah Kid Award opposite sex.
You had a
He
good
had,
chauffeur on that trip, as I recall.
I did. Yeah. Good to have
No,
a chauffeur.
that was a trip you and I took together, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And that was great seeing you there at the picture session at late on Saturday night, getting pictures taken with the big trophy and all that. And we said, wow. But I think okay. So she won the Isaiah Kid before she did these other state championships.
Yes. And then yeah. I
Okay,
can't
let me
remember.
explain real quick what the Isaiah Kid Award is. I think I may have on this other, probably should have you to do it, Gordie, but it's basically, it's a 3-night hunt at Plott Days. Thursday night is strictly for Plotts. And in recent years, they have an RQE that's Plotts only, and they have an all Plott hunt. I believe you hunted in the RQE, didn't you, Gordie?
RQE, yeah, she got qualified there on Thursday night.
Right.
And Friday night, she won her cast, and she won her cast on Saturday night.
So she won her cast 3 nights, just didn't have quite enough score to be the overall winner.
Right.
But she did get the opposite sex. Yeah,
right.
we were just talking about that with Heath Hyatt and how he and I got to be friends back in 97 when he won the overall with Brandy and I won the opposite sex with Wrangler. But that's an honor. I mean, when you're within your own breed, when you go to your breed days, okay, and you win like that, and I'm not talking about my wins, but when you went and you won your cast all 3 nights and you won the opposite sex out of all the Plott females that were there, that's an honor. That's something to shoot for. It used to be like my world hunt because when I worked at UKC, I could not hunt in the UKC licensed events, but I could hunt on Thursday night in the all Plott hunt because it was not UKC licensed. Although you had to have a registered dog to hunt there, so that's how I got to hunt in the all Plott hunt and placed several times and did get to win it. So I know what it feels like to win that. That's a great honor. So then where'd you go from Plott Days?
Oh, boy, I got to hit my memory bank here. I think, I'm trying to remember. 2017 was the Grand American. I think it was 2016 was Autumn Oaks.
Mm-hmm. So you got high scoring Plott at Autumn Oaks, or how'd that work?
Yeah, she did. I think it was 2016. I'm pretty positive, but I had bred her for the first time in 2016, and she had just come off them puppies. I think 2 week and a half prior to Autumn Oaks, and then she ended up going and getting high scoring Plott female at Autumn Oaks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty salty right there. I know you were out getting a picture taken or something in 2016 at Greencastle when I was out there, I believe. That's right, when I judged the bench show.
Yeah.
And that's that
was the 2016 World Hunt.
Yes, the World Hunt at Greencastle. Yeah. That was the year that Randy Smith won it and Tom Strang with the Biffy Sioux female. And that's the year that we kind of got to be friends too, and I've had quite a great friendship with Randy. But so let's just kind of go down the list because the dates I know get fuzzy with time. But what were some of the hunts that you either won high scoring Plott or got a breed award or whatever?
2017, she was the Florida State champion.
Overall,
Florida State champion, 2017. She was high scoring Plott female at, I think it was the Grand American, if I remember right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because she was also qualified for the World Hunt in 2017, but we had that hurricane come through, so I couldn't go. We didn't.
Right.
We were out of power here, and I couldn't leave.
Right.
It didn't materialize. So let me think. Let's go to 2018. I don't remember the major wins other than, I had her qualified for the World Hunt, and we got to the zones, and she ended up the only Plott advancing to the top 100 in 2018.
Right. Okay. Now, where did Georgia State come in?
Georgia State in 2016.
Okay. Did she win the Georgia State overall?
Not overall, not Georgia State.
Okay. I was thinking that she did.
Yeah.
Okay.
She won the Florida State Hunt in 2017.
Okay. So at any rate, she won most of her events, or got most of her titles at major events, then, didn't she?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, what is it you like about Nana besides she's a winner?
Overall, she's just a good dog to have around. Around the house or whatever. She's just a good-natured dog. But as far as the hunting wise of it, she's naturally independent and she's extremely accurate. And I think that's what carried me and her through all these hunts, over the last few years. She's just one of them dogs that she can tree coons. A lot of dogs don't even know her there. Yeah.
Well, and now you have bred her, what, 3 times?
3 times, 4 times.
4 times.
4 times.
Okay.
Yep. I bred her.
First time you bred her.
First time I bred her to Z-Bar, Zink's Bayou Amy's Revenge.
Okay.
Kind of lost track of them pups. I had a female that was coming on pretty good, and she ended up passing away. So I've lost track of them pups over the years. I do know a couple of them are pretty outstanding bear dogs, from what I've heard, but a lot of them didn't go to competition hunters, and there was a couple of them that were turning out pretty good, but one of them got shot, and another one come out missing. So
yeah, the mortality rate was not good for that litter then, was it?
No, not at all. Not at all.
So it brings up the question: Is Brent Zink still active? Is he still hunting? And
I think he's hunting. Yeah, I think he's hunting actually. Yeah, but I don't to what scale, I don't know. I mean, pleasure hunting. I had talked to him a while back, but I think he's just mainly pleasure hunting. I don't think he's comp hunting anymore.
Well, when we talk about Brent, and I know that he won the PKC that with the same dog there, Z-Bar, he won one of the divisions of the PKC Super Stakes, which is a huge thing for a Plott dog. Looking back in history, we mentioned the Siebert and Otto Sarge dog. The Sarge 2 dog that Kurt had won the Futurity in PKC, which was a huge thing for a Plott dog to do back in those days. That was before the Super Stakes days. I think he won about $40,000 or so in PKC. Yeah. So he was and so and then so what is the next after Z-Bar? What did you breed to?
Bill Harrell's Logan dog.
Okay. Bill Harrell, longtime Plott breeder from out in Peru, Indiana. Been around Plott for a long time. Knew his dad, Joe. Bill's had a lot of good dogs down through the years, and that Logan dog has a very impressive resume. I think he maybe won that first duels class that they had at Autumn Oaks for
he sure did.
Yeah, with Becky Church handling him, I think. So Becky's, of course, she and Dawn are very, very well known in the Plott breed. They're Suncrest Plott dogs. Becky is a big winner in the show rings, and I think those dogs, a lot of their dogs came from the stock of Curtis Walker, West Virginia Plotts over in West Virginia there, of course. And so anyway, well, I kind of have to give you a little running commentary on these Plott dogs because I've been around them for so many years, but Logan, well, those puppies are doing pretty good, aren't they?
Yeah, we are. My Ben dog out of that cross is doing excellent. There's a few other ones that are going to be coming on. You're going to be seeing their names real soon, I'm sure. So,
Well, the Ben dog has made night champion so far,
yeah,
right? Mm-hmm.
yes.
Is he? Well, naturally, he'd be qualified for the Tournament of Champions that's coming up, right?
We're heading there next weekend.
Yeah, think about it. The zones are coming up already.
Mm-hmm.
I want to thank Alan Gingrich and Trevor Wade and Todd Kellum and all the staff at UKC for once again inviting me to be an analyst at the Tournament of Champions. I'm looking forward to that very much. And they have a couple other fellows that are going to be on the team this year as well. So we're going to break it up a little bit and all. But, man, that is a fun hunt. I had a ball out there last year and really can't wait to get back.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah,
like that on something else.
It is. Everybody that went there last year will have to, I'm sure they'll tell you that it was absolutely first class in every way. And so, well, good luck for sure. I'll interject that right now. And I've hunted with Ben, not since he's, got the titles and everything, but he was a standout young dog, from a very young age. So that was a good cross. Well, then, what'd you breed to next?
I bred to Chris Rochester's Carolina Maximus dog.
Yeah, now there's a dog with a resume. Has he made the Hall of Fame yet as a Grand Night?
Yes, he has. Yeah,
it's amazing. Yeah.
That's 50 best wins.
How many? 50? Well, you talk about consistency.
And in the mountains.
In the mountains, yeah. Oh, boy. Yep. There was a day, but it's not today for me to hunt those mountains. Well, yeah. So, okay, you bring this illustrates a point that I'd like to make for the guys out there. And I mention him a lot, but he's such a good example. Randy Smith up in Pennsylvania with his walker. Hunts females, keeps females. Then he has a choice of whatever stud dog he wants to breed to. And with frozen semen, the choice is even wider. So here you are with the top winning female. I'm sure there's every Plott guy in the world that's got a male dog would love to see you breed Nana to their stud dog. And so you've kind of taken advantage of that. Here you've bred to Z-Bar, who was a very famous Plott stud dog. You bred to, what's the second one?
Harold's Logan.
Logan. I didn't mean to slight you, Bill. Logan, and then to Maximus. And how are those pups looking? I know Chad Howard's got one up there, I think, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think she's going to be she's a firecracker from what I've been hearing.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was hearing.
I've got one here at the house that I sold to Katie Swales up in Pennsylvania, and so I've been hunting this little dog for her, trying to get her going, and she's definitely going to make a dog, no doubt. They're not 2 years old yet, but she'll definitely make a dog. And the last cross I did was with Saddle Up Lazarus.
Last year's Plott Days winner.
Last year's, yep, and the World Hunt winner last year for the Plott breed.
Right. Now you hunted Lazarus for Bill in a
I
hunt or
hunted
two, didn't you?
Let's see, at the Peach Classic 2 years ago. He was just a year old then.
Right.
And that dog, we didn't win, but that dog really impressed me. He's got a motor. He really impressed me.
Well, I saw the video that not Muncie Outdoors, but Stark Outdoors did on a hunt with Alex Recker that handles Lazarus.
Sure.
Is your nephew, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, he is.
And there's a video on there of Lazarus, and I was impressed the way he breaks away on the cut. Really gets in there. Yeah, that one time he had crossed two roads. Don't recommend that, but he definitely will go hunting. I can see that. And I think what you told me, Gordie, more than anything else, although I highly respect Bill Scheninger and trust him just to a T. But I think what you told me about Lazarus probably influenced me more than anything to want to get a pup out of him.
Sure.
And my partner, Mark Miller, up in North Carolina, and I now have partnered on a pup out of Lazarus. And she's a grandson of Ole Hoss. I hope she'll turn out a little bit like him, too. I mean, him. It's not a she. It's a male pup. But anyway, yeah, that Lazarus dog is... he's hot right now. He just came back from the American Plott Association Breed Days event. I was up there on Friday just visiting. My brother Randy and I drove over and visited with Bill and Alex and just a lot of Plott people there. But Alex ended up winning. Alex with Lazarus ended up king of the hunt up there.
Sure.
They won the cast 2 nights, which just happened to be the second 2 night champion wins they needed to make Grand Night champions. So,
right.
Yeah. So Nana has entertained some royalty.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, I was telling a guy the other night, you know, I said I logged over 8,000 miles taking her to get her bred.
Wow.
To these, you know, top dogs. And
right.
You know, I kind of did my homework, and I think we're definitely, honestly, you know, in all honesty, I think you're going to see Nana within the next year, 2 years. She's going to be on top of the reproducers list.
Well, she should, with all the young dogs that she's got out there now, you know, and if they all finish out, Well, that's the way you do it, folks. All you do is get yourself a dog, get one that somebody wants to sell, and just jump in the truck and drive 8,000 miles. That's all you got to do. Right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We had a lot of fun doing it. Doing it.
Got your picture taken a lot of times.
That's right. That's right.
You still don't know how to stack that dog. I'm going to have to show you how to stack. She's a good-looking female. Every time I see where you stack her, you got those hind legs straight up and down. I said, give me that dog, Gordie. Let me show you how to win with that.
I'm a hardwood guy, not a plywood guy. You know?
I got you. She's a beautiful hound, though. She really is. Beautiful color.
I don't know who's grayer anymore, me or her, you know?
Yeah, well, you've had a great run with her. How old is she now, Gordie?
She'll be 9 at the end of this month.
Yeah, my goodness, they get up there too quick, don't they?
Yeah, for sure. She, you know, if it wasn't for my hearing, and she's lost a lot of mouth too, you know, over the past couple of years. But I honestly think if it wasn't for that, she could probably still go in. I honestly believe that.
Well, you know, my favorite dog that I had, you didn't get to hunt with him. I called him Bronco. Bearpin Plott's Bronco. He won that all Plott hunt at Plott Days at 8 years old. And, you know, he was still strong at that point. Of course, he lived to be 15. But, of course, those last years were in retirement. But, yeah, well, that's the thing with these dogs. They just simply don't live long enough, do they?
Yeah. Well, you know, I got some good prospects. You know, I got Ben up there with my partner, Devin Dixon, up in North Carolina. He's doing a heck of a good job with him. That dog, you know what's funny, Steve, is he reminds me of Hoss, because you can call him off trees. You don't have to put him on a leash. He'll just follow you.
Yeah.
And Devin's done a lot with him. I can't thank him enough.
Well, when you put a handle on a dog, it really means a lot.
Sure.
You know, I heard Kevin Cable say, though, that his dogs that he really hunts, he likes the wild and crazy kind, you know, that go really deep and all. And he said, I don't want to put a handle on them. I don't want to slow them down. But then at the same time, go ahead.
Yeah, you wouldn't slow Ben down. That's a fact.
Right. But at the same time, he'll talk about, if you listen, you got to listen. Talking about his wife Angie and his little boy Jackson, and how they teach him to lead and all that stuff. So they got a handle on them. They may not have one like you're talking about, but
Right.
yeah. But anyway, well, that's great, and it's been
Yeah.
a real privilege for me to get to hunt with Nana. I guess just about ever since you've had her. And the hunts that we took with Bob Frazier, with Candy, and all, great pleasure hunts, and Ole Hoss along, and those times. And then I strayed from the beaten path and got a walker dog. And I'm going to be reporting some things, if I can jump away from the Plott thing just a minute. I found out that and have suspected this, and I want to get a guest or two on the podcast to talk about this issue of thyroid dogs. And I think you and I discussed it just a little bit before we started recording tonight, that we really don't hear that in the Plott breed, or at least I haven't. But in some breeds, and especially in the Walker breed, it's fairly prevalent anymore. And I had noticed a change, and I had talked a little bit about it on the podcast about Cruz missing more than I thought he should. And finally, my good friend Jamie Perrin in Alabama's been on me ever since back in the fall when we went to the White River. He said, you need to get Cruz checked. And I finally did get it done, and checked him all the way around. He was negative on Lyme and Ehrlichia and heartworm and several other things, but got the report just before this podcast that his thyroid is extremely low. And it's amazing how this affects dogs. And so I want to get, for future podcasts, I'm going to do my homework and try to get some experts on here to talk about that. But
yeah, good idea.
Yeah, it is. But so anyway, I got off on the Walker breed a little bit there, but I've got this pup now that Mark Miller and I own, so we got big things expected from him. But I haven't completely forsaken the Walkers. I still got the Heath Height, and I own a nice Trackman pup up there that we have high hopes for. So, but anyway, go ahead.
I've got a couple of really nice prospects coming here. I've got
Good.
I call him Bayou Banana Split. He's out of Nana and Bill's Lazarus dog.
Yeah.
And he's just 6 months, coming 7 months old. So I got him, and looking forward to getting him rolling this fall.
Yeah.
And I picked a puppy up. Well, it's actually out of Ben, my Ben dog, and me and Devin's Ben dog actually, and Frank Johnson's female up in North Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
She's Millennium Magic and a Pretty Boy Poacher female.
All right.
And brought her home for my little hunting partner, my granddaughter.
All right. Yeah, I think you've got one there that's going to make a coon hunter. She sure acts like it. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome, Gordie. And, hopefully, we're the better part of our coon hunting is kind of starting to wind down here now for another year. By April, it starts warming back up, and the humidity comes out, and the mosquitoes and the snakes and all those fun things that we put up with down here, which summertime coon hunting is not fun. I remember that one night you and I went out. I think we had Hoss and Banana, but I don't remember what we had.
Yeah, we did.
And we got out of the truck, and we're standing there, and I feel like I am in a sauna. I mean, it is, or I liken it, it feels like when you open the oven door to check on the pizza, I mean, that rush of hot, moist air.
I know exactly where we were at. We were down by Dade City. We were actually getting ready to go to Plott Days in 2016.
Yeah. Well, we must have done something right, because that's the one that Nana won, I think.
Yeah.
Well, we're coon hunters, and we're going to go when we get a chance. And I know you go anymore. You've been really good to let me ride along with you and go along. And I hope that we can do that for a lot more years to come.
Oh, yeah, me too. Me too.
Well, anything, future plans that you have, or anything that we didn't cover here? We've We've been at it an hour and 20 minutes already, Gordie, if you can believe that.
That's been a while, hasn't it? That's good.
Yeah, it's been
That
good,
just
though.
means we like to talk.
You what?
I said that just means we like to talk.
Well, yeah, you know me for sure.
Yeah.
But we've had a lot of good conversations in the truck. We talk politics sometimes. We
Sure.
talk coon dogs. We talk family. We just have, and that's what good friends do. And you've been a great friend to me, and I want to publicly tell everybody that. Well, thank you. And that's what this thing is about. Yeah, it's the dogs for sure. We love these dogs, and you and I love the brindle ones best of all. But
Absolutely.
but it's the friendships that we make. And when I was together with Chris and Chad and Bill and Alex and Trent Williams and his dad up at the APA Breed Days, everybody was talking and saying, wish Gordie was here. So maybe we can get together and do that next time, you know?
Yeah, I was missing you guys pretty bad. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure. I know the feeling. I know when I was a kid, my dad would go bear hunting. And as soon as I'd get home from school, I'd tell Dad, now you got to get to the phone. We didn't have cell phones then, and tell me what you did today, you know. And I look forward to that call every day. And it was killing me to go to school and not be able to go bear hunting with him, you know. But
yeah.
But we've about shined this tree, and I think there's I see a couple of eyes up in that tip top of that old bald cypress way up there. That coon's probably got nosebleed. He's so high up in there. But old Nana, in the memory of Ole Hoss, we treated another one tonight. So
for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Gordie, thank you so much. I'm going to close this out with a visit from my old buddy, Fred Moran, the Redbone Man, up in the western hills of Pennsylvania. Fred likes to visit with us here on the podcast, and so we'll probably close out the show tonight with Fred. But Gordie, it's been great having you on. I've meant to have you on a long time ago, and things just, but I will look forward to getting a report on the Tournament of Champions. Maybe we'll get you back on here and let you tell us all how you won that $50,000.
Oh, yeah, you'll definitely know it.
Well, I'd say with your history of winning at big hunts with Plott dogs, you'll definitely have as good a chance as anybody else. So I wish you good luck, Gordie. And that young pup you got there, I want to get out with him before the weather gets too hot on us here. But
sounds good.
All right, Gordie Schroeder from Oklawaha, Florida. It's great to have you on, Gordie. Now let's hear from our old friend Fred Moran, the Redbone Man. Well, it's time in the podcast to visit with our friend Fred Moran over in the hills of Pennsylvania. Fred Moran, the Redbone Man. Fred, how are you doing today?
Pretty good.
Well, I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about coon clubs because we were talking about them the other day, and we had I asked you about what the first club was that you joined, and then you had a lot of good information or thoughts to share about coon coon clubs, the good, the bad, and the ugly, I guess. So what do you have for us this week, Fred?
Well, probably the first club I ever joined was the Butler Club. It was at that time, I believe, called Butler Coon and Fox Hunters Association. And Dick Crow was one of the guys that instigated me coming up there. I said, that's a long way to come to a meeting. He said, well, come up and join us someday. So I did. And the guys were all nice and cordial. There was a first club meeting, I believe it was at least 25, 30 guys, which wasn't bad. And for the only club in Pennsylvania at that time that I was aware of, there was nothing down my way in that. And they put some good hunts on. They're still in existence today. A lot of people can't come because of different things in their schedule, but they still get a decent crowd, and it's good hunting up there. I remember it's a little hard to find when you don't know where you're going, and they used to put out signs well ahead of time on the back roads so you could find that club. And we took a kid that moved here from Germany, and he liked coon hunt. I sold him a dog. He went to all the night hunts. And I said, "You just follow me." Well, I had 2 or 3 guys in my truck, and he had a couple guys in his truck. He was lagging behind so far. We decided, I told you that jokester stuff. Well, we decided to pull just 2 of the signs out and turned them the opposite way. And so he's not headed toward the club. We get there, and there's plenty of time. We went looking for him if it got down to the wire. But finally, he comes in. There's about 10 minutes. He said, "This is hard to find." He said, "Somebody had them signs in the wrong way, and we went the wrong way about 2 times." But everybody in our bunch knew what happened. But anyhow,
never a dull moment.
No, we keep everything lively. But we run, there's different clubs, and to my way of thinking, Butler, the club that I belong here, Law Highlands Coon Hunters, which is, well, only 14 miles from my house. I shouldn't say that. People know where I live then. But it's nearest town to it is Mount Pleasant, Pennsylvania, and they got a good club and a strong club. It's got I know, I think I heard at the last meeting they had around 70,000 in the treasure. That's pretty good for a coon club. We got the same president for at least 30 years. Now, we can't get rid of him. He just loves it. But Bruce Knopfsnyder, he's a nice guy, and he's holding that club together. When you go to a coon club and they have 60 members show up for a meeting, that's darn good.
It is in this day and time for sure.
Yeah. But like I say, it's to get 60 members at a meeting, that's pretty good. But I could tell you old stories about, we used to have a coon club, and it put on the Pennsylvania State Championship one time, which, by the way, the biggest hunt ever held in Pennsylvania was a Pennsylvania State Championship. And it was put on at Waynesburg, Pennsylvania, and I believe it had 115 dogs. That was real good for Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania don't get 100 dogs in no night. Me and Chuck Bailey put on the Little Mountain Music Hunt in I forget the year, I'd say 1964 or so. We called Eddie Ross and asked him if we could use the name Little Mountain Music, and we wanted to make it with their features. We had a band come in. I called every coon hunter I knew of from here to Arkansas, and there was a week before Kenton, and everybody showed up but 2 guys. I had T.C. Jones here, Marvel Hill from Arkansas. They supported me in the club. We had 104 dogs. That was the first hunt to ever break 100 dogs in a hunt, and we had a good crowd. The band had to go to a wedding to play. The coon hunters passed the hat around. They stayed for another hour, was late for the wedding, and played another hour. They loved it. We had a good support. I really was amazed at that. And we had guys from Connecticut, you name it, they were there. And
well, you know what happens there. You know why that happened? because somebody had a vision and somebody was willing to do the work and somebody was willing to get on that phone and call those hunters from all over and all, and that's what it takes. We put on a hunt. We put on a hunt in southern West Virginia one time, a Plott sectional that drew over 100 dogs, unheard of, but we put in a lot of legwork, and that's what it takes.
I couldn't believe that we had the good crowd as we did, and the next one wasn't that big, but it was a good one. It was probably 90, and but we proved we could do it, and it was a good hunt. And that's how the name Mountain Music still stayed to this day, and they still have big hunts, but they don't get no 100 dogs anymore like they once did. In fact, my buddy won Mountain Music Hunt. The only thing Blairsville Club took it over and started putting it on. And, well, Blairsville put that on, come to think of it. And I thought it might have moved to another club, but Blairsville put it on. That's a good club, too. They get decent crowd. And my old friend, we call him the Black Shadow, for obvious reasons. He won the Mountain Music Hunt last year. Scott Perky run his dog. And,
I see. Well, there's so many memories, Fred, and so much history to explore. And, and we certainly are going to come back and talk about this some more. Are there any good stories that you remember that came out of that Mountain Music Hunt?
Well, we didn't play no tricks on anybody that I remember, Ted, but we've had to share them, played different events and so forth, but I think everybody behaved that weekend.
Well, I'll just interject this. Eddie Ross, the name that you mentioned several times here, was the founder of the Kenton National, I believe, or at least he hosted it and sponsored it.
Eddie and I became good friends. He asked me to write a poem, and that's how I got a little well known. And Eddie took me down to Mississippi, where he used to go. We'd have get-togethers down there. People from all over to support his Mountain Music Hunt and that were invited free of charge, and we'd just all pitch in the money and buy the food and everything, and we had them thing. And whether you know it or not, as a promoter, he was 100% honest. He found out at one of his Mountain Music Hunts, it was way down south where it was held, how a guy pulled a fast one and someone won a hunt that shouldn't even been in the top 10, let alone win the hunt. And he never put on another hunt again. He said, when I can find honest judges, then I'll put another hunt on. And the average person don't know that. I felt I was a personal friend, and that's what he told me. And he was a good guy. If he trusts you and everything, you were in good shape.
Do you remember taking a hunt with Eddie?
Oh yeah, I went out there. Me and Chucky Hargett, a friend of mine, we went out there one time. In fact, Eddie had 2 red dogs, and Chucky bought them both off him, and they were good dogs. And we hunted until daylight. He didn't have Blue or Blaze at that time. They were at somebody else's house being hunted, but he brought a dog. He called him Blue, but he wasn't out of them other dogs. And we treed on a big den tree. I mean, it was big. It was as wide as your truck. However, it was so old and rotted. We pushed it. We got it rocking. And I told Eddie there's no coon in that tree. His dog treed it. My dog, I don't know where he was. And, well, he was somewhere in the territory, but he didn't do nothing to help treat that coon. I told him, there ain't no coon in that tree. He says, if we can rock that tree, we rocked it, got it over. The coon come out and took off. We had the dogs tied. The coon took off, and he's probably still running a high hill. But I couldn't believe my dog didn't get treated on that dog. and the coon was there. But the blue dog Eddie had did a good job, real good job.
That may be the origin of the rule that UKC has. Of course, that wasn't UKC. UKC has about not molesting any dens or places of refuge. No, it's a great, great story. And Eddie Ross, founded the Kenton National, and our listeners for many, many years would go to...
Everybody's been there one time or other, probably. They know it as Leafy Oak, but it's a Kenton National.
Yep, and it was on Labor Day weekend, and then that's when UKC, I guess, decided to put in a hunt to compete that was more for the coon hunters instead of the field trial and water race and dog swapping and all the things that the Kenton was known for. So in 1960 is when Dr. Furman, I guess, got together with probably Manfred Craver, I would say. I know Manfred was the manager of Autumn Oaks for many years. And that's a guy I bet you know.
Well, I knew Manfred. Yeah, I knew him well.
Well, he was a field rep at the time that I signed on as a field rep in 1978. So there's a lot of good stories, and he's one of your fellow Redbone men that I know that has passed on. And I can remember when he died that Fred Miller drove from Kalamazoo, Michigan, down to Greencastle, Indiana to attend Manfred's funeral. But he was a very well respected gentleman.
Oh, yeah, that's for sure.
Well, listen, Fred, let's that old clock has kind of caught up with us again for this episode, but we sure do like your stories. We sure do appreciate you being part of the Gone to the Dogs podcast. And folks, he'll be back next week with more stories from Fred Moran, the Redbone Man.